It's been almost a month since Donald Trump totally embarrassed that douchebag Kamala Harris in the general election. And now the conservatives are making fun of the fact that left-wing hacks can't budget their money, and and her campaign is bankrupt. None of her debts have actually been met. The entertainment that she promised the people that she paid to show up didn't get paid. All right, so I started wondering how much of the left-wing screaming and totally going ballistic because Donald Trump stomped her is real. I work in Portland, Oregon. Arguably one of the most liberal towns in America. And I started asking questions. I soon realized that even Portland, Oregon, if you went by county, did not vote for Kamala Harris. There was only one county that was actually blue. And that happened to be Multnomah, of course, where I work. So, let's talk about it. I'm Anatoly Anatolisva, and this is Patriots Must Rise. We dodged a bullet with Kamala Harris not being elected. We dodged a bullet with Hillary Clinton not being elected. Why do I say that? The simple truth is that the Democrat Party has never been the party of the little guy, of the working class. Never been the party of the working class. Proof of that is the Civil War. Now, grade schoolers are taught to believe that it was about slavery. That the Democrats of the South wanted to keep the slaves, only they call them Republicans now. They refuse to actually admit the shortfalls of their party. Anyway, for a brief history lesson, you have an argument over who should have won the presidency. Okay, the Democrats were very upset that the new party, the Republicans, won the White House. Then it wasn't the White House, it was the presidential palace. But the presidency was secure on the Republican side. The abolitionists, the ones that wanted to abolish slavery, that later became known as the Republicans. However, big business in the South, the plantation owners, didn't want to retool. We were entering an industrial age in the North. The invention of a cotton gin easily could have freed the slaves, and eventually did. It wasn't Abraham Lincoln. It was the fact that people started actually realizing that you could cover more ground with a mechanical tractor and a device behind it than 17 rows of slaves that didn't want to be there. But to retool is very expensive. And to be honest, have you ever met a Democrat that wasn't on a power trip? They loved lording over the people that they called slaves. And they didn't want to give that up. But there is another factor to the Civil War. A factor that, if the argument was made in the North and it wasn't about whether or not somebody should be able to keep slaves, I would completely agree with. And that was that the South did not feel that the government should have a right to tell them how to live their lives. That's right. We didn't fight one war about basic freedoms in America on American soil. We fought two. The second revolution was the Civil War. And one of the basic principles was government overreach. This is something that has come up over and over again throughout the American landscape. Every county, every state has had to deal with this fight at some level in order to maintain the state's identity. Recently, we had an overturning of what the liberals call a basic human right. Wait for it. The right to murder your child. But what they don't teach these overly emotional shitheads on the left is that Roe versus Wade was never about abortion. It was about the right to privacy that the woman should have in the hospital when she is getting treatment. And that was never overturned, because the Democrats also instated what we call HIPAA, an act that protects the patient's privacy from everything except a judge's warrant for the information. And in many cases, it actually protects them from that. So, really, none of the arguments that the left is saying about Roe versus Wade being overturned were ever valid. Now, I've heard people tell me that they don't agree that Roe versus Wade was actually a violation of the First Amendment, just being in the courts at all. But understand this. The very definition of a family is an institution of religion. That fetus growing in the mother's womb is an extension of that family. Therefore, when the First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law regarding institutions of religion, it's literally saying, Supreme Court, you have no right to rule on this. And I will stand by that to the day I die. We have a lot of friction in this country right now because of basic ideology that will not be reconciled anytime soon. And a lot of it has to do with basic gaslighting on both sides. The abortion issue, trans rights, which I believe is laughable from the beginning. But beyond that, the right to actually govern over yourself. With the left constantly policing what people say on these platforms, we don't have any true freedoms in America anymore. We have to be able to protect it. And we can't do that unless we are able to communicate. We can't actually do more than put a Band-Aid on the wound until we can actually get a dialogue going. I'm Anatoly Anatolyeva. This is Patriots Must Rise. Please, live free, die well, and love your neighbor as Christ loved you. In the upper corner, there's a QR code to donate to help support us. I hope you do. Until next time, I'll see you later.